If you enjoy this video, please consider giving a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you have any ideas for future videos, share them in the comments section below. This original bedtime story is made possible thanks to Slumberland patrons. If you would like to support this channel, you can find Patreon details in the description and on my channel homepage. So take a moment to close your eyes as you listen to my voice and allow yourself to just get comfortable for a moment as you begin to drift off asleep. And while you rest there comfortably, you can listen to this story about a princess going on a journey. And the princess one day decides to leave the palace quite late in the evening. She doesn't normally get to leave the palace on her own because of the risk of being recognized. So she waits until it's dark outside on a moonless night. And she leaves the palace and heads down towards the town. And as she heads towards the town, so she's aware of the sound of each footstep on a gravelly road. She's aware of the cool breeze on her face, aware of some sounds in the distance, the odd sound of bats and birds and rustling leaves. She can see the stars in the sky and the Milky Way stretching overhead as she continues walking towards the town. And while she walks towards the town, she notices how the lights along the edge of the street light up small areas with a glowing, almost orangey kind of light. And as she walks towards the town, she can notice a couple of people milling around, but not very many because it's quite late at night. She can notice the old building, and she can notice how still and quiet everything sounds. And so she walks through the town. She has a hood up and a cloak on to protect her identity as she walks through the town. And she passes through the town on her way towards the woods. And as she approaches the woodland, she notices how it gets even darker in the woods than it is in the town. She starts to walk away from the lights of the town, walking away to where the only light is the lights from the stars overhead. And she continues walking as the rustling gets louder of the breeze in the trees in the woodland. And she can hear the odd branch crack as bigger animals like deer are roaming around, foraging at night under the safety of darkness. And so she enters into the woodland and notices a change in atmosphere, a change in temperature. a change in the way things sound, and she can no longer see the sky above her head, just trees arching over the path. And her footsteps have changed also, from sounding like walking on gravel to having a dull thud of walking on mud. And so she continues along this path, exploring, going on a journey of discovery. She continues along the path, hearing different sounds of animals in the distance, and some sounds make her jump a little until she realizes it's okay. And other sounds she finds comforting, and she finds her mind wandering and drifting off to the comfort and the relaxation of walking through the woods. And she's searching for a pool of water. She's heard that there's a magical pool of water, that you can only recognize its magic late at night, on a moonless night. And as she walks down this path through the woods, she sees a small gate, like a tiny path leading off this main path. So she reaches and grabs hold of the metal handle. She pulls on the metal handle and opens the gate and walks through, and the gate has a certain weight to it as she pushes it open and closes it behind her. And it makes certain sounds as it closes. And this path leads slightly uphill, and she walks and follows this path uphill. It's a very narrow path that she follows uphill. Very narrow path taking her deeper and deeper into the woods. And she's familiar with this area, but not familiar with this magic pool. But she wants to discover it. And after quite some time walking, she begins to hear what sounds like a waterfall in the distance. And so she starts to head towards that sound. And she has to cut off the path and into the woods itself. And her footsteps change as she now walks through leaves and branches on the ground, making an entirely different sound to walking on the mud. And she pushes past branches and tries to swerve and contort her body around branches as she pushes through the dense woodland, cracking twigs under her feet, going deeper and deeper into the woods. And as she goes deeper and deeper into the woods, so she becomes more excited at the prospect of finding that pool. And the sound of the waterfall gets closer and closer as she goes deeper and deeper into the woods. And then she starts being able to smell water. So she knows that she's nearing that pool that she's after. And after a while, herself going deeper and deeper into the woods, so she finds herself on the edge of a low-down cliff. There's a bit of a drop between where she is and that pool below. And there's a waterfall heading down from where she is, from a river that passes through the woods and pouring down into that pool below. And the water has a strange fluorescent blue glow to it that seems to be excited and bright where the waterfall is pouring into the pool of water. So she climbs down next to the waterfall, and she's heard that it can bring good luck to have a swim in this pool. So she takes her clothes off and puts them on a pile next to the water and walks to the water's edge, and she can feel under her bare feet that the ground has an almost sandy texture to it, and it has a certain warmth to it that it's retained from the daytime heat. And this pool is in a slight clearing. So as she gets in the pool of water and she lowers her legs in and carefully gets in and realizes the pool is quite warm because the water has taken longer than the surrounding air to lose its heat. So the water remains quite warm. And as she goes into the water, she rests back and lays on her back. As she lays on her back, she can feel the water around her ears, around her shoulders, the sensation of water as it splashes up over her body, while she floats there, weightless, with her legs hanging slightly, and her arms out and hanging, and the water halfway up the side of her face, feeling the tension of the water around her cheeks, covering her ears, changing how she hears the sound, just floating and resting there, feeling a slight cool breeze on her face that's above the water, noticing the occasional tickle of her hair as it strokes her ears and her neck as she floats on that surface of the water, hearing the deeper sound of the waterfall from under the water, and floating in that fluorescent glowing pool of water, and gazing up and noticing the stars overhead, noticing the Milky Way stretched across the sky, as her eyes accustom to the dark. And so she can notice more than she could at the beginning, and to really truly enjoy the experience. And to get the most from the experience, she lets her eyes gently close, and she rests in the water, just floating and drifting, and breathing and noticing that because her chest is largely under the water, she can feel the extra tension required to breathe, almost like the water is hugging her comfortably. And so she floats there and enjoys breathing in and breathing out, while the water hugs her comfortably. with her eyes closed, just resting, relaxing, drifting as she floats across the surface of the water, of this glowing water. And then after a while, she positions her body upright and then leans forward and swims back towards the shore, and she can hear the sloshing and the sploshing of each stroke she takes, and the feeling of swimming through that water, moving that fluorescent water around as she swims back to the shore and gets out and notices the cool air on her skin before taking time to dry herself off, get back into her clothes, and know that because she swam in this pool on this moonless night with the glowing water, she's going to be brought good luck, good health and well-being, and she knows that she's going to sleep well tonight. And she walks back through the woods, walks back to that path, takes time to walk back along the path before exiting the woods and heading back towards the town. And then she walks back through the town and back up to her palace and finds her way to her room. And feeling calm and comfortable and relaxed from the swim, being aware of thoughts of wonder of what good things the future holds, she rests down in bed, closes her eyes and comfortably drifts off asleep. The same way that you can now drift comfortably off asleep and enjoy a restful night's sleep, feeling alert and awake in the morning, rested and refreshed, ready to face the day, knowing you can listen to this again at any time you want to help you drift comfortably asleep all night long.